in an isolated area is where we're at. What would happen in an emergency and we actually press these buttons?
Question for you. What's our loss procedure?
Hi, we put together a small video of different devices for people that want to go off the grid into isolated areas. We put the video together so we can give you a bit more of an understanding what actually happens behind the background when you deploy that button.
Brett, really good.
Hey, mate.
Good to see you. Good on you, mate. We're going to touch on a subject that I think Brett's got all the authority in the world to actually speak about because he's what he does for work. It's basically about these devices, not specifically just this device and this device, it's the other devices as well. Brett, can you just put us through the motion of what other devices are out there and how these things work, response times, realistic response times? I do understand these are a third party.
Yeah, they are. So they've got a separate entity. But what we'll do, so you've got a PLB. So this is the one that I use. This is the ACR Rescue Link 400. It's a personal locator beacon, and when you activate that, it squawks out at 406 megahertz, 406 megahertz, which goes direct to the satellite network. And then it also squawks out at 121.5 megahertz, which commercial aircraft will hear, and search and rescue aircraft can actually home in on. That's my personal preference. My experience working in emergency services, I was a chopper pilot for 10 years, did 15 years in aviation. The other 5 years was working for AMSA. We were contracted to AMSA through a company called Aero Rescue. So we flew a Dornier aircraft, which we had all the tracking equipment that we could home in on. So yeah, spent a couple of years there and another few years at Coastwatch, a company called Surveillance Australia, which was mainly Coastwatch operations. And then from Coastwatch, we actually did the occasional search and rescue as well.
Okay. With this device, you've chosen it purely for economics?
Yeah, there's a few reasons. So one, the cost, there's no monthly fee, and it was $400 outright, but also it's a secondary contact thing. My wife works full time and we ride during the week mainly. So if we're out and about and suddenly I have an emergency and say I'm using a Garmin InReach, a Zoleo or anything like that, and that text message goes to her with, hey, I need help, here's my location, she might not get that for a couple of hours or even later that night, and that for me is an issue. I do like the way the Garmin's work and the Zoleos where you can send that message, say, hey, we're okay, hey, I'm okay, but I need help, or we're at camp for the night, or we're late. That's an awesome feature, but you need someone on that receiving end, which is something we'll talk about in a minute as well when it comes down to when you need to hit that SOS button.
Okay. With something like this gets sent to where? It goes straight to satellite to Canberra?
Yeah, so that will go straight to satellite, and that satellite signal takes 2 to 3 minutes to be received from the EPIRB or PLB. That will go straight to the Rescue Coordination Centre in Canberra. Canberra will then notify the relevant authorities in that state, who will then start tasking a rescue. Now, of course, they don't know what's going on. All they've got is an emergency beacon, so their job is to actually act on that emergency beacon and proceed forward until they hear otherwise.
Okay. With we're at a fairly populated area here, East Gresford. If you were to press this button,
Yep.
and you're over here, say you're out cold, just before you go out cold, you manage to press the button.
Yep.
How long realistically do you think it would take? Because we're at a stone throw, we're only probably 50 kilometres from the coast.
Yeah.
Probably 60 kilometres to Newcastle. So they're major populated areas.
Yeah.
What would you expect?
Look, it's going to be dependent on asset availability. You know, it's got to go to Canberra. They're going to do, so with the PLBs, you get to register that. So you'll put your number down, a secondary number, so next to kin, spouse, anyone. So they'll get that paperwork because it's all registered, so it'll come back on the records. They'll try and contact you first. So they'll try and ring you to say, hey, have you accidentally hit your button or do you actually need help? And if you're in a situation where you can answer the phone, if you've got service, that's a bonus. But 99% of the time, the reason you've used that is probably because you're out in the middle of nowhere. Because we are in such a populated area, you've got ambulance, police, fire, CFR, RFS, all those guys, SES, at a stone's throw, but don't let that, don't put that in your mind as that they're going to be 5 or 10 minutes. There could still be up to an hour to get to you, because they need to organise, once they figured out that you actually need help, they need to get the right assets. You know, do we need a 4 drive down here? Is it easy to walk down? All of that, and everyone's going to be still trying to contact you as well.
So being a populated area here, first people to be in contact will be the police. They just sort of come straight out looking
Most
for
probably
you
the
first.
police. It'll come down to, so Canberra's got, the Rescue Coordination Centre's got their layout of how they have to do things. And then what they'll do is they'll follow their procedures and try and contact whoever is the primary one contact in that area. And look, per state, around Australia, for us, even globally, everyone's going to be completely different. So, you know, you do have that time frame where they've got to get everything organised. And you've got to imagine, say your worst case scenario, they need to organise off-road vehicles, they need to organise an aircraft. You might not have an aircraft available, so it's got to come from another town. So there's going to be some time there, and that's where the people on scene really need to look after that patient, stabilise them, do your first aid, and hang tight, don't move, stay there.
Yeah.
That seems to be one of the biggest issues.
Yeah, so I was going to touch on that just quickly. It is a real nuisance when the guys manage to get rescued but don't ring that 000 or get into contact with the services.
Yeah.
They just leave the scene,
Yep.
and they've got a heap of people come here. How does that affect the services?
Oh, it's huge, because that'll take assets away depending on where you are. If we're, say we're on our run out to Cameron Corner or somewhere really isolated, you know, if they need to organise, it might be a fixed wing aircraft, a helicopter, 4 drives, police rescue, ambulance rescue, fire rescue, all those guys, they might be sending everyone to that. So if you leave your location, you need to actually notify someone as soon as you can, whether it be keep your PLB on and keep that moving so Canberra can see that you're relocating. But if you've got comms, make sure you tell them. Oh, it's funny, I only saw it the other day on Facebook. There's that New South Wales incidents. There was a motorcyclist who came off on George Downs Drive, so up near one of the culverts, a regular spot where they come off. And someone had called for help because there's no mobile service there. They've gone back to the scene, and then, you know, ambulance or police or whoever hasn't turned up. So they've relocated down to Jerry's and waited down there. So when the rescue crews turned up to the scene, there was no one there. So it is really crucial, because you're taking that asset away from another rescue. And if you can move, you're probably better off trying to make your way anyway to hospital or to nearest help. Because that, you know, like I said, you're taking assets away.
Yeah. So realistically, this device, it goes straight to satellite. So as a response, this would be the quicker response over these units because of the third party.
Yeah.
So can you just take us through that third party, how that works?
Yeah, these third parties are interesting. So your Zolio, Garmin, Spot Messenger, they will go to a dedicated call centre, an international rescue coordination centre, where they will send you messages. And you can see there's a lot of videos on YouTube and their websites about this. So you're going to have a two-way conversation by message through that device. And then with the information they get, they're going to then send that to that country or state's rescue coordination. So for us, it'll be Canberra, and pass all of those details on. Now, Canberra will probably have their questions they want to ask, which will be a relay. Now, that is, to me, that looks like a massive delay. The other thing is, anyone who has a Garmin device, a Zolio, also has a spouse, next of kin, or a next contact, and that person will also get the same message. And it will provide them with a latitude and longitude that they need help. So that person there, when you go out, say you're hiking, riding like we are, going out in a boat, tell someone where you're going and what's going on, because then if you get that emergency message at home, you can ring 000 straight away and say, my partner's just activated his Garmin InReach, and his position is this. I don't know what's wrong, because it's just activated and that message has been sent. And the rescue services will activate on that. So that's a good way of cutting out that middleman. But if you don't have anyone to, like myself, if I had the Garmin InReach, I'm going to be messaging Garmin at that International Rescue Coordination Centre, sending them what details I can. My understanding is, and I haven't been hands-on with the Garmin's, the InReach Mini, but my understanding is it can be a bit fiddly. But I understand with the Zolio, you can do it through your phone.
Through the phone, it's just like using Messenger.
Yep.
It is brilliant. That's what it attracted me to that.
Yep.
It was just so easy to use, and it, you can set them up as an alley check-in.
Yep.
And like I said to the wife, if I'm, say, through the Savannah Way, and I've left, say, Hell's Gate,
Yep.
and I've had 3 or 4 check-ins over 3 hours,
Yep.
that would usually indicate there's a problem. And if she can't get me on the phone,
Yeah.
send someone,
Yeah,
because
right.
you know, that's the idea of the check-ins.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
it.
it?
So, and it's interesting. So, tell me then, what's the cost? Like, if someone's budget orientated, because we spend thousands of dollars on our adventure bikes and our gear, you're like, oh, can I afford this? What's your budget for something like
This
that?
one here, because I don't, you know, use the messaging all the time.
Yeah.
It's not a bulk lot of messaging, but it's only $30 a month.
Yeah, right. Yep.
You know,
So it's a Netflix subscription kind of thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just so cheap for
And
what
can
it
you?
does.
I understand with Garmin can you do the same with Zolia where you can put it on pause? So
Yes,
if
you can.
it's
100%.
winter, it's bucketing down,
Yeah,
you're not going
no.
anywhere.
If I decide to pause it,
Yep.
I'm not going to do anything for 6 months. I can actually pause it and retake off
Retake
with
it.
it just through the app on the phone.
And will that-
it is brilliant
Do you also pay for the messages?
within that contract.
Yep.
I think. Look. It's been a while because
Yeah.
just like mobile phones, they do change the
Yeah.
contracts. I thought it was very, very reasonable. It was like 20 or 30 you know, messages
Yep.
that I could do over the month.
Oh.
It was possibly more than that, but
Yeah.
you know, on a trip, you know, look, I did the trip to Darwin and back. I probably use it probably 40 or 50 times, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
even if you go over, it's the amount of money they charge you.
Yeah.
It's
it's
really
like saying you got to
minimal.
look at it. If you're using it, then there's a reason why you're using it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So we're talking about the Zolia only because I've owned it for a year and a half, and for me, it's just been so reliable.
Yep.
Whenever I get to like a city, I just check for updates.
Yep.
They do the updates,
Yep.
which is good, and it keeps us all in touch.
And the other thing I'd like to look at, I want to have a look at this Garmin InReach Mini because you've got the XT2 on the bike and I'm looking at getting one as well. And apparently you can kind of get them all together, bundle them all together so it does everything with that XT2. So I'm really keen to get a bit more in depth to see how that works. Okay. But it just goes to show there's a lot of devices out there that you can use, but you've just got to understand in a way that whether it be one of these or one of the Zolios or a Garmin InReach, when you hit that button, it's not going to be immediate. There is going to be some time, so be patient. And I think the other one is take the right SAR gear with you, take your right first aid gear and stabilise people.
I'd like to touch on one more thing
Yeah.
before we finish. The satellite phone.
Yeah.
These satellite phones have, you know, it's like everything, you know, they're good and they've got the bad.
Yep.
And what I've found so far, because I have spoken to a few people who have had some pretty ordinary accidents, but they've not been able to give that longitude, latitude.
Yep.
So basically it makes that mobile phone or that phone
That
kind of
sat phone,
useless.
yeah.
Sat phone quite useless,
Yeah, you
doesn't
need
it?
to know where you are.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly touch on that 4 words.
Oh, what 3 words?
What-
yeah,
yeah,
so
what 3 words,
What 3
yeah.
words is an app. It's an international app, and it doesn't require any mobile service to use the app. So as soon as you open that app, download it at home before you go, and as soon as you use that app, where it puts you, you can actually bring up the 3 words, which you can give to emergency services, and then they can look up what 3 words online. So you can use it on a PC or a Mac, you know, and they'll get the Latin long and they'll put that in there. But the app also gives you the opportunity to put in a Latin long as well. So any format, all the emergency services use all the different formats, your minutes, degrees, seconds, and everything. So they can change that around. But the biggest thing with any of these devices, and this is why I love this so much, is location. Because without location, no one can get to you. That's the highest priority. That is the absolute highest priority. Is we need to know where you are.
And with that What 3 Words app,
Yep.
you don't even have to be in cellular.
it's great.
It can be anywhere,
Yep.
middle of Australia, because it actually
Yeah.
sends the
pings
3
through.
words straight to the phone. You know, it doesn't show the picture of where you are,
Yeah, but it'll give
but
you
it
the
gives you those 3
location.
words is what you need.
That Brent Pearson video that we've had a look at, poor bugger. So one of his mates came off. They used the Emergency Plus app because that was heavily
Yep.
advertised around Australia as well. But I didn't realise that app needs mobile service. And where they were, I think they were coming off the Wattigans or somewhere out there. And they had no mobile service where they were.
Yeah.
And it was great having a chat with Brent just through YouTube.
Yeah.
He said that What 3 Words app was the lifesaver there because that gave us the Latin
Oh,
one to get right
100%.
down there.
And I think it was that video, it actually put shivers up my spine, really.
It does, doesn't it?
I was gobsmacked with the way that they were kind of treated
Yeah.
with the with the operator not knowing longitude,
Yeah,
latitude,
saying that they didn't know how to. That was poor form. That comes down to the service, and you know, the services really need to know how to determine a location through what can be provided with any device, whether it be what 3 words or EPIRBs or anything like that. Okay, so yeah, location is going to be one of the highest priorities, and then looking after your patient. So first aid gear, what you carry, how to look after someone. And you know, it's funny, you and I were talking about in a previous video, what happens if we get separated?
100%.
Yeah,
And the other thing which we really got to touch on,
Yeah.
we've been riding over 12 months together,
Yeah.
and it's only just recently I've asked you,
yep.
what do you carry?
And where do you carry
And
it?
where do you carry
Yep.
it? So if you fall off
Yep.
and I need to press or get
Yep.
in contact, so where the hell do you keep it?
I will always keep this on me. It's usually in a jacket pocket somewhere. It'll either be in my pants or in my jacket pocket. So there's only 4 pockets.
Right.
And that's only because if we go somewhere, I remember Steve, Big Bike Adventures, he rolled down a hill on his bike and was separated from the machine. Now, if he had a really bad injury and couldn't get back to the bike, and that's where you've kept your device, you're in strife there.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep it on you. You've got to keep that.
It's funny, I was talking to a fella only yesterday,
Yep.
and he says to me, he keeps his spot on the bike. And I said, hey, is there any particular reason why you leave the spot on the bike? He says, oh, because it's easy to get to. And I've seen guys
Yeah.
that have come off their bikes and
Yep.
have ripped these devices off their vests
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
They've lost it. And I said, well, what happens if, you know, you've stacked it and you've hurt yourself or
Yeah.
pretty heavily and your bike's way over there and you can't get to it? He said, I can get over there, and I'll be able to press that, press the button even
Yep.
with 2 broken arms. And I said, well, how's that possible? You're going to use your nose to press that button? you got to actually physically lift the lid on it,
Yeah. And hold it down.
press it. And I said, so how does that work?
It's the same with this. So to activate it, you got to launch the antenna up
Yep.
90 degrees. There's the button. You hold that down, and it will go. That's the test button
that's
there.
pretty
So
cool.
you know, and then you want to put that somewhere in a clear line of sight to the sky, especially with the Zolios, the Garmins, and everything as well, because they need to be able to see. If you're in a thick canopy.
Apparently,
my
they work
is-
pretty good in the thick canopies.
Yeah,
I
my
have seen.
understanding is that they can have some issues though. So you got to be aware when you go for these devices and you're looking at them. Really study up on them. Look at what you're doing, because if we're ducking out to Cameron Corner, good to go because we've got clear line of sight. But if we go and hit the back of the Wattigans, the Barringtons, go back to Nundle or any of those places we've done previously, there's areas there that it's dark.
Yeah.
So you might not get that signal through.
So I think what we've got is a pretty good pair, because yours goes straight to Canberra.
Yep.
And if need be, I can actually use a Zolio device and actually text
Yeah.
Triple O.
Yeah, and also, well, you won't actually contact AAA because there's no way AAA can receive a text through a
to the
device.
third party.
But you can send it to
The
the
wife.
wife, another rider,
She can
anyone
relay
who
that.
will then relay that message.
Right.
And I think that's why when we go riding, I always say to the wife, we're heading out at this time, we're going to be back by this time, this is where we're going. Now, she tracks me on Google Maps, which of course is only good if you've got mobile service.
Yep.
And she can see where. But if we're not home by 7 or 8 at night and alarm bells start going, you've got the availability to then contact your wife, who will then spread the word and go, hey, can you also let Brett's missus know? The other thing I was thinking as well, because mobile phones are pretty big these days, and the technology is getting pretty big. Apple have their iPhone 14, which does the satellite thing as well. But you need to activate it in a way and be in a very clear area and point it around. If you want to just settle on an Apple iPhone, then make sure you do your research. You'll notice as well, there's some areas that we go to where you've got only SOS network.
Yep.
Now, there's a thing the emergency services have. It was pretty well publicised, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now. There's a thing called AML, Advanced Mobile Location. So if you're in mobile service, there is the potential there that when you ring 000, it can get you down to a really small radius, which is great if you're in a place like Gresford, anywhere with good mobile service. That will give the operators, not all the time, 70 to 80% spot on. There are times where it has a few issues because technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, it can go to custard. But if you're in the SOS network and you look at your phone, you go SOS only, you can still ring through to the emergency services, so call 000. My understanding is it's a very clear line, but there's no data, there's no location, there's nothing. So you need to know where you are.
Yeah.
You need to be very aware of that location.
And that's where that 3 words would be really
What
handy.
3
Just
words would be
watch your
absolutely
word and
perfect.
Just throw them,
Yep.
those words at them and they'll know where you are.
And they'll know where you are. It's perfect. So if you do that, the other one I'd suggest, and this is for the street bike riders or hikers who go out into valleys and everything, if you've got several people with you there as well, someone's come down, open up your what 3 words on your phone, take a screenshot of the location, then go to mobile service and ring through and give them that location.
Yeah, good.
Because if you don't, I think when you ring 000 and they say what town or suburb, they want that location. They'll want the location of the patient, not you. If they can do that and say they need to send a chopper, they've got that position already.
100%.
If you say there's no way of getting in there and I'm going to meet you somewhere, then give them that secondary location next up. Location's everything. You know, you hear they've got the what's that TV show that's on now? Ambulance show. People freak out because they are having their massive emergency there and then. It's the first time ever, and they're completely freaking out. And they expect that it's like the movies where you ring and they know where you are straight away. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be calm, relaxed, confident, and just follow the directives. Follow the questions. There is a lot of questions that you get asked. Don't go off at the operator. Just go answer those questions, get those details out, because that's what's going to get help on the way.
Take a few big deep breaths.
Yeah, take some breaths. The worst situation you can be in is your mate's laying on the ground, bleeding out, bones sticking out, and you're freaking out. It's not going to help anyone. No.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered a hell of a lot.
It has.
We don't want to bore people too much. If you guys have any questions, if there's things that we've missed,
yeah, throw them in the comments. Well, but throw a question down in the comments, because really there's no such thing as a silly question. And someone else might be thinking the same thing. So throw those questions out there. We might do a couple of these videos in the future because technology changes, new devices come in. So maybe every 12 months or so, we might try and update the video and also answer your questions where we can. We might be doing a live stream where we can do some real-time Q&A. So if you've got any questions, go for it. And look, if there's anything there that that someone else has picked up that I've made a mistake on, let us know. Because like I said, it's been a while since I was in aviation and search and rescue, but they still work. They still work the same way. They're still bloody good devices. Just remember to plan, prepare, and just get ready for the worst case scenario.
It gives you the confidence to go out, because there's no way I would have gone through Centre of Australia.
Yeah, without that.
Especially solo. There's
Yep.
a hell no.
Yep.
So,
So
yeah.
you've got to be ready. But that's been good, mate. So let's do that. We'll chat to the lads, and if you've got questions, throw them down there. But
Awesome.
it's a good day. We might as well go riding.
Every time I talk to you, I learn something.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, isn't it? Awesome. All right. Uru for now, guys. Take care.